We are back, everybody. We're talking about DeAnna Lorraine and how she's helping out people across the globe, really, about with her relationship advice and her mentoring. You've got problems with love. You worried about lust. How's your passion? What do you want in your love life? She's got it all. She'll answer it all. And we're going over great questions tonight that everybody floods her with calls at DeAnnaLorraine.com.
Yes.
Who can forget your website? But so Dee, tell us a little more about what's going down with some of the questions that people have about love.
All right, so talked about that. Talked about the living situation. How my personal opinion, and I feel it's definitely best, is when you start living with a man, you don't maintain that level of mystery as much. You start becoming more predictable, and because you don't have that long-term commitment, like a marriage, you actually, all those little fights and the bickering you get into, it tends to distance you instead of pull you through it. You're not thinking, okay, well, since I'm already committed to this person, let's just stick it through, and then you minimize the fights more when you actually have a commitment. But when you don't have that commitment and there's an out, you start thinking, you blow it up in your head and you start thinking, this person might not be right for me, and this person might not be good, and you start thinking more into it.
But hey, there's a 55% divorce ratio right now,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So what's wrong with both people testing the Miata for a little ride around the park? No. Because here's where I come from with that. I've lived only in my, well, I won't share for the viewers my age just yet. But no, I've lived with only a couple of ladies in my life.
Yes.
And it's, for me, if I lived with somebody, I think other people are doing it too easily.
Yeah.
Like moving in. That's
after a couple months or whatnot.
Right, hey, whatever, it's next to, Malibu Grand Prix.
Yes.
Where we go-karting on Fridays.
Yeah, 6 days, then the move-in.
But yeah, so I'm more of a sincere, I believe in love, and if I did that, that's where that was coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah, the guy just met a gal at TGI Friday, over some chicken wings.
Yeah, exactly.
And next week they're living together.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Right, it's a problem. And you know what? I feel like people take that too lightly sometimes. And think about what does happen when you live together. You do ruin a lot of most of the surprises, most of the spontaneity. You become predictable. A man can tend to grow old with you, bored with you, while the woman grows increasingly impatient. When am I going to get the ring? When are we going to get married? She starts freaking out. So you have to think about that. If you do end up living together, I would recommend having some sort of a timeline worked out beforehand. So you think, hey, let's live together for 6 months or a year, and after that, then we'll take the next step, or we'll make it.
That's a good call.
Take it separate ways.
Now I do like that.
But it's important. No, you got to, or else it just goes on indefinitely. It drags on. Then you become the girl who stays with the guy for 5 years, living with them, and no kind of promise whatsoever. So I do feel like, why can't you do that?
Dale says you can't do it.
You never
can't.
put a time frame on love.
Oh, come on, don't give me that.
You gotta be happy with each other every day.
I agree,
You
but
can't say within
Good
6 months.
point.
Once you do that to a guy, it's
Oh,
like a killer.
run for the hills.
oh, I agree with that. But
It's like a threat.
I
We
think-
take it as.
Yeah.
It
Right?
is like
And
a
once
threat.
we.
I don't feel like the woman should be the one who's like, hey, we got to move in after 6 months. But I think the two of them should have a conversation about a tentative time frame.
Right.
Thinking, hey, let's have a conversation about this. Maybe a year from now we'll take the next step or whatnot. There should be some sort of intent to take a next step. It shouldn't just be let's live together indefinitely and then all of a sudden 6 years
First of all,
go
there
by.
has to be a reason for you two to live together. There has to be
Right.
one reason.
Right.
To save money, to potentially lead towards marriage
Right.
in some days. Or the third one would be
To get all the benefits of a marriage and a
And
relationship.
living
all that.
together. But
playing
Right.
house.
Playing house.
Playing
Yeah.
house. Playing house.
Playing house is fun.
It is fun. I'm going to play house with a lot of girls.
I know.
But
Just
somebody
for
has
a
to pay
week.
the rent.
Yeah.
I want to
for
do a week, right?
Just for a week, you make a little tent inside like a fort.
Right.
And play games for a week, and then she's gone. That's no
And then-
commitment, though.
And then you get booked in advance, right?
You get
For holidays. Sorry, babe. I mean.
Wants to come to my tent.
Speaking of, what?
But Dee, no, that's great advice. That
Yeah.
really is. And you know what?
I'm really looking out for the women mostly too
You
in this
do.
situation because
And that's why women respect
it
you
happens
so
all
much.
the time. It happens all the
Because-
time where a man moves in with a woman and all of a sudden 5 years go by or there's never a ring, there's never a proposal, and she's just waiting, getting increasingly older. Her options start slimming down, and she starts getting really impatient. And then along the way, more impatient equals less attractive in man's eyes.
Right.
She's becoming less and less attractive.
Doesn't that have something to do with baby time, though, for women?
Exactly.
If they're
That's it.
single,
The
Exactly.
they're feeling
So
impatient.
that's what I'm saying is a woman really, if she wants to protect her options, she shouldn't necessarily live with a man unless there's some sort of a you know, a next step commitment. And you can definitely test each other out without having to live together. You know, I know if the guy keeps his cap off his toothpaste or whatnot when I'm dating him, you know. And
Wait a minute, don't get that nasty.
You spend the night at each
still
other's house
online,
enough.
yeah.
You spend the night at each other's house enough. Come on.
Right.
It's a new age. You know enough about each other, I feel, to there's a little element of surprise. You want to keep that there and then go into it. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of risk, but I think killing all the surprises and spontaneity isn't necessarily a remedy for a perfect marriage either by living together.
Yeah,
So-
you know what? I don't need
and-
surprises personally. I need somebody to love me on the level that I love them, and
That's
that's
a good goal. That's,
right. And
yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Aw, that's sensitive. Your sensitivity is coming out.
You see, it's that last episode, The Hills.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it's natural, the wine, or is this like a bunch
The
of
vino.
Well, we haven't even done any damage yet.